Episode 39 is called Finale. Living in the end times, seeing all the trials and tribulations coming upon planet Earth, seeing the martyrs, their souls under the altar in heaven, seeing the persecutions going on, seeing the hatred against the Jewish people, seeing all kind of violence and bad things, you hope, Lord, come and bring your kingdom on earth. Set your people free. Set the planet Earth free. It's occupied territory by the devil and his angels. We know that God ultimately is in control. But one of the temptations of Jesus in the desert, you can read about it in the Gospels, is that the devil comes to him. And one of the temptations is, he says, serve me, the devil says, and I will give you all the kingdoms of the earth. He takes him to one of the sides of the temple, lifted up high, and he sees, as it were, the earth. And the devil says, I'm in control of this, of all the kingdoms but I'll give it to you if you serve me. But Jesus doesn't fall for the trap. So the Bible calls the devil, as it were, the commander of the nations on earth, together with his whole army of demons, of fallen angels who have fallen with him, and they were cast out of the heavens. Now, living in the end times, we must realize that will one day completely over. The devil will be finished, the demons will be finished, the powers of darkness will be finished. You read about this in the book of Daniel, Daniel 2. First Daniel saw a statue with a golden head and a silver breast and legs of iron and feet of iron and clay and bronze and all kind of metals composed this. And they are representing all kind of empires that in the history of the world in those days came one after another. Babylonian Empire, then the empire of the Medes and the Persians, then the empire of the Greeks, then the Roman Empire, and then the final empire. While you were watching, a rock was cut out, a rock from the mountain, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and smashed them. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver and the gold of the whole statue were broken in pieces at the same time and became like chaff on a threshing floor in the summer. The wind swept them away without leaving a trace, like dust. All these empires suddenly broken down to dust, and the wind swept them away without leaving a trace. But the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth. The rock is Christ. And finally he will come. And this final empire that at that time contains the whole world will be destroyed. And he will be the peace on earth. The stone will fill the whole earth. The kingdom of peace and righteousness will fill the whole earth instead of all these empires. They will all be made to dust and swept away. Now, what is striking here is that this statue, in the end, is standing on its feet, having all these elements of all these empires that came one after another, all in that final empire. It is, everything is there one more time, but then not one after another, but everything compressed in one. A final attempt of man to create the kingdom of man over and against the kingdom of God. All these empires had characteristics. The Babylonian Empire, the Golden Head, absolute dictatorship. The kingdom of the Medes and the Persians, absolute laws that no one could escape. The Third Empire, the Greek Empire, represents what we would call today Western civilization. Science and technology, democracy, Olympic Games, beautiful art, philosophies, even modern principles that led to our technological world and the achievements. It was all invented already in principle by the Greeks. The Roman Empire, military might, nobody could beat the Romans. The legions rolled over the then world and nobody could stop them. So the final empire, the empire of Antichrist, will have everything in itself. There will be one dictator on the top, like Nebuchadnezzar of the Babylonians. The empire will have laws that no one can escape. The culture and the spirit will be of the Greeks, with all science and technology and state-of-the-art and entertainment for the masses and so forth. And militarily, it's absolute. Nobody can resist this final empire. So the whole world, it has 10 toes, this statue, will have 10 power blocks being the one world with the one world parliament and the one leader on top of it. All these empires in history had one thing in common, different as they were, they all hated the Jews. The Babylonians have destroyed Jerusalem and the temple. The Medes and the Persians had a law that all the Jews were to be killed, and only because of the intervention of Esther it didn't happen. The Greek Empire has been fighting wars with the Jews in the Maccabean Wars. The Roman Empire has destroyed again Jerusalem and the temple and took all the Jews around the world. So they all had different characteristics, but they all hated the Jews. So this final empire will be full of hate against the Jews and also against Bible-believing Christians. But it will be short-lived. It will be the climax, the finale, and then the stone will come and destroy the whole thing like dust in the wind, and the stone will fill the whole world. The kingdom of God all over the world, peace and righteousness, and of His kingdom, under the leadership of Jesus, of His kingdom, there shall be no end. Wonderful.